Hello, hello. Um, I'm not sure anything's working again. Um, so I'm a little concerned because my PC, I know it has seen them. So why output device? Why is my earphone not showing as available? It says it's connected. It's seen my earphone. I can see if I click on the thing, it shows Bluetooth connected. It said connected in my ear. But the moment I go to actually look at everything, sound settings, let's do this. It's not there. Okay. Don't really want to add stuff because, well, it's already connected. So can you just use the one that I've got? I mean, because it's going to come out of speakers. I don't want it to come out of speakers. I want it to come out of my earphones. Anyway, it has been a while. While I do this, so do be aware. Oh no, there they are. Headphones. There we go. Right, that should stop anything you guys say coming out the earphones. Sorry, coming out the speaker. Hurrah! Oh, my dear friends, Friday keeps coming around too fast. Well, days keep coming around too fast. And I have been truly, truly struggling. To be honest, I really didn't want to do this today. And some of this is not because I don't want to do this. And this is really hard to explain. This is, I enjoy doing my lace making. I enjoy crafting. I enjoy talking to you guys. But after the week of work, I just want to lie down and do nothing. And, well, as the inevitable, kind of YouTube shorts and memes go, right, see you all, I hope you all have a good weekend, blink, and welcome back. I hope you had a nice weekend. What the fuck? And that seems to be how my life has been. Last week I really intended to stream, and well, yeah, that didn't happen. Because I did something, I did something else, and it was 4:30, and it's like, oh, where did it go? Most weeks I have been asleep during this usual streaming session. And to be honest, I really feel like I should be there today, but I'm here. And I have to work Sunday, so this weekend's going to be even really shorter. I haven't been paid for Sunday, I should point out, but that doesn't change the fact that it's Sunday. So, as you may be aware, office drama is something that the whole world can do without, frankly. You may recall about 18 months ago, well, almost exactly 18 months ago, we changed from our old employer to a new employer. And we joined a team of 3 people. They then added one very shortly later. Our manager's still there. One of the team's still there. One left in August. Another one resigned 2 weeks ago to go and work in another team in our current employer. So he was in the current employer to start with, and he's now gone to another team. Only he's on holiday now for 2 weeks, so he basically went after 2 weeks. And the guys in our new employer are not bad people. They're really not. But the amount of work they feel is a hard day's graft is so little compared to what our team is used to doing. And I think that's part of the problem they don't like it, is because they get it and it is... Did I just hear dog barking there? Did you just bark, young lady? Did you just say that to me? Did you? Did you say that to me? I think you did. How can you burp now, Rory? You've been outside. Surely you ran off any burps that you had. Anyway, so they're looking for an easier life because our team is hard work. I'm not going to lie. Well, it's not hard work. There's just a lot of it. And it's high enough pressure, constant. Everything's priority one, and you just have to learn which is actually the bigger priority and stick to your guns and just get shit done and all that kind of stuff. I mean, no one's gonna die is usually my answer to all of this, is that if you don't do it today, no one will die. In fact, if you do nothing today, no one will die. There might be some late fees somewhere, but you won't see them, you won't hear about them. And it's, I know that to an extent it's not the right attitude, but it's how you keep your sanity, right? It's what we do is we are not keeping people alive. We're not doctors and nurses here. We're not making life-threatening decisions. We're not saving people from burning buildings. We're not keeping people alive. The company we work for makes parts. Not even the whole, parts. So someone has to wait, so if at 5 o'clock you want to go home because, I don't know, you've got family, dogs, life, just plain don't wanna, and he has to wait till tomorrow morning. 12, 14 hours really isn't gonna hurt. I mean, someone will be pissy, but someone's always pissy. So, shrug it off a bit, stop taking it personal, move on, right? And so I do think they've had a bit of a hard time. And they've gone, well, the guy who's just left, has gone to do a job that's for 4 days a week. Bear in mind, he's half my age. 4 days a week. Well, he's not quite half my age, but it feels like it. 4 days a week for more money. You can't blame him. You really can't. Nobody can. Kind of, some things don't quite add up, but, that's a him problem. That's fine. Because one of his biggest problems with us was that he's got a kid that I've got to go and see my kid. I haven't seen him for a few hours. But the new job's in the office. Well, you're not going to see him there, are you? Unless you can take him with you. So, I don't know quite how that's going to work, but not my problem. Not my circus, not my monkeys. But the pressure is now on me, because of what I can do, not what I am employed to do, to kind of make up a lot of the holes. And I've been feeling it. Some of it is put upon me. Some I arguably have feel it, whether I've been asked or not. Because, well, some bugger's going to do it. And it's not going to be them or them, so it's going to be me, right? Hence, I'm working on Sunday. I have quite strongly been throughout my employment at this company. And I do weekends. Not available. Just like I'm not available now, because we're doing this. Well, this time last week, I was still talking to my manager. Trying to console him over efforts. It should be the other way around. It really should. But, so I am here. Talking to nobody, I think, but I am here. And it's not, as I say, it's not that I don't want to do this. I have been doing crafty things. I've been doing my cross stitch, which is growing quite a bit. I've done 41% of it now. Really doesn't look like it, because I actually haven't finished the top left-hand quarter, which is the quarter I've been working on. Now, I did some of the border for the top half, and I've been concentrating on the top left-hand quarter, and I'm nearly done, but I've done like 41%, and that's tough. So the bottom quarter should go pretty damn quick, is the hope. But obviously I've got the right-hand quarter to go, which obviously is a mirror image of what I've just done. So considerably quite a large chunk, and then the bottom should be, frankly, a breeze. But I'm pleased with how that's going. And I have taken up a new thing. Now, it's something I've been looking at and thinking about for quite a while, but I finally got some shit to have a go. Now, when I say got some shit to have a go, it's actually mainly shit I already had around the house, because, of course, I'm crafty, so I mainly had it around the house. It's more the principle and the practice of achieving it. So a bit like lace making, if you've got some pencils, some sewing thread and some pins, you can have a go, right? You do not need anything more complicated. Straws, frankly, fucking anything. If you've got anything that you can wrap some thread around, pretty much you can have a go at lace making. Some things will make it easier, some things will make it harder, but anything that's kind of pencil, straw, you know, lollipop, sticks, anything of the sort. After all, that's what my bobbins are effectively made of. So, they're not quite lollipop sticks, but realistically, I don't know quite what else they're using them for. So, with all that in mind, and I got myself some nail orange sticks. I don't know why they're called orange sticks, but they're called orange sticks. You know what? If they weren't quite so shaped, they'd make fucking good bobbins as well. I'll show you that in a minute. So let's have a look, and wondering why my stream isn't. That's better. That's my stream deck hadn't changed to the right page. That was all. So let me change to my pillow. Oh, there you go. So this is the orange stick. Now, somewhere around here was the old bobbin stick. It's basically, I've got a spare bobbin stick, or I did have. It was in a lump of blue tack. Where did that go? Have I been eating it again? I don't think so. Well, I'm pretty sure I'd remember doing that. I mean, not literally eating it, you understand? It's on my table. Oh, there it is. I see it out the corner of my eye. There it is. See, it told it was in a lump of blue tack. Right, so that's the stick I used for my bobbins, and that's the orange stick. They're very, very similar. Now, this is obviously quite a bit thinner, but it would do. You could use these. You can buy these for cheap as piss. So, again, I mean, not that these were expensive, you understand. Mind you, oh, no, it's just the shade of the wood. It looked like it'd been dunked in some coke or something, because if I bring it up, you can see there's a dark line on it. But this is a lovely smooth, very smooth, whereas this is quite rough. This is exceptionally smooth. So, you know, either of these would do. You don't have to be prissy about it. So, let me introduce to you what I've been playing with. Now, this is my first thing ever I made. And I followed the instructions with the size threads that they said. And to an extent, it looks all right. But it also looks a little bit, well, glary in that. Let me zoom in. Hang on. Zoom in so you can see it a bit better. Right. You still can't see it too well. But obviously it's bookmark. That's what it's intended to be. Well, maybe it's not obvious, but it's bookmark, Sharon, right? And what you do is you sew. I mean, sewing the edges of this was a real shit. I do not recommend this edging. This edging is called nun stitch. And what you do is it's almost like you're a machine doing blanket stitch. So rather than doing blanket stitch, right, you go round and round. So you've gone round twice, then you go round twice, and then up, round twice, round twice. So every little stitch, and you do it every other stitch. So if this is 100 and something, I think it was 150 stitches tall. I think it was 153 stitches tall. That can't be 150. It must be 154. Whatever. 100. Let's say it's 153, right? Well, 150 divided by 2 is 75. So 75 times one of those, right? And it just took fucking forever to go around the edge. But it is a hard wearing edge. It is going to last the standard set of time, which of course is what it was for. And what you do is you basically do satin stitch or just over sew around the edges and then cut holes in it. Hello. So this is the bookmark that I made. Now the technique that this is called hard hanger. I ring it as Harbringer, so I is in the end of all time. But one thing I didn't quite like about this was this thread was the exact thread that they said, which says anchor pearl cotton, right? I bought an almighty crap ton because, well, I didn't know how much I need, so, and you do use a lot, especially doing this fucking outside stitch shit, you use a lot. And it doesn't go very far because obviously if you look at each of these squares, and then you do the same on the bits in between, and it looks better in person than it does on camera because, well, the stitching is designed so that you don't really see the stitching per se. You see more the holes, which I have. Now, this is technically unfinished, this next one, which is the one that I went off-piste and did my own thing and used my own intention. And I haven't finished it. I need to stress this strongly because, well, I haven't decided what to do next. But this is what I've made. Now, the astute amongst you will notice that there is a diamond in the middle. Symmetrical, of course it is. I haven't gone over the edges here, so I'm going to boomer zoom this. So if I bring it up, you can see that I haven't gone over those stitches in between. The threads are just sitting there, which means that they can move. They're not very strong, which is why you go over them. But I haven't decided what I actually want to do with it. But I used different thread for this, and if you look at this in the hand feels quite bulky. It's not, it really isn't. But in comparison, this feels really bulky. This one feels delicate, but it's not. I mean, the thread that I've used is actually my lace making thread. It's one of the thicker lace making threads that I've got. So it's not fluffy, because the biggest problem I had with the other one was that it was very fluffy. And fluffy wasn't working. Now, should this be thicker? I think, in all honesty, the thread should be marginally thicker. The edge on this one, if I can get it to focus, is just oversewn all the way around, right? So this one was one stitch all the way around. So this was actually about half of the previous stitches. So this happened a fair bit quicker. But the edge, as a bookmark, or if you were going to make tablecloths, is the common thing with this, is that you do this. But again, why would you want holes in your tablecloth? But a lot of countries, looking for the word there, races, tribes, groups of people of nationalities, nations, that's probably the word I'm after, use stuff like this as shirt decorations. So you'd have like an undershirt, or you have clothing where you'd have backing. So like you can see the colour of my thing through it. If this was, say, a black jacket, right? Thinking of this is the example I find best to think of. If you had a posh jacket, you could do some element of this. Now, bear in mind, I've gone through, I am not being hugely adventurous. There's whole freaking wafts of, hang on, let me get the book. It's underneath the table. So, to give you an idea, there are lots of shapes of things that you can do with it, right? So, with that in mind, if you think of strips down the side of a shirt or a jacket, if you had a black jacket with Cadbury purple, for those who don't know what Cadbury purple is a deep rich purple, or bright red, or hot pink or something. If you had a black jacket with a real vibrant colour behind it, and you had decorations in black, so that from a distance you didn't really see it, but you'd see the hints of the colour. That could be really quite attractive. But part of this, I saw this originally, because obviously it's done on cloth, and was thinking about my own weaving. Now, obviously, it would be a bigger scale because I don't tend to work with atom-sized threads on my weaving. But, to do a little bit of decoration at the end of tea towels, because it is quite hard work. This, hence, when you do it, you literally just cut it out. You do the thing, and you go, and then you just cut holes in it. So if I wanted to cut holes in here, now you have to cut the right sides, because there's good sides and bad sides. So when you oversew, you can cut along where the stitch goes round, and not if you've gone over a block. Let me zoom out a bit so I can explain a bit better. So if this was a thread, if I had gone, and there were a number of them, and I'd gone round and round and round and round, I could cut here, or at the bottom where I'd gone up, gone under, but I can't cut this side of it because nothing's holding these threads in. So a lot of its strength is gained by the sewing. And you can do, in theory, I almost could cut all the way around the inside of this. So rather than zoom in, where I got the edge of this, I could cut all the way around it and line it up with the little squares that I've cut. And I'm not going to, but I could, right? I mean, so for example, so I could here, for example, almost fade it in, for want of a better word, because these are all sewn. So I could, kind of get, pull like one thread and then 2 threads and 3 threads and then 4 threads, which is to the real thing, and then have a solid square and then do 4, 3, 2, 1, and then back to the cross. So you could do all sorts of things. You'd have to do it in the right places and all that kind of shit. But you can do a lot with it. And I was just messing around because, well, I fancy trying this. And the one thing I did discover is fabric. Now, the fabric for this, they don't recommend Aida fabric, and then nearly every book shows you it using Aida fabric. There's not a contradiction in terms. But of course, it's not designed for Aida, right? And for those who don't know, Aida is the cross-stitch shit where there's basically pre-holes and the threads are grouped together in the middle. So it is kind of weird to me that they do that. But this cloth that I bought to make these with, because, hang on, Table of Doom moment again. Here is my cloth. I bought more of it. So this was really quite cheap. I've got, a pile of it. Really was quite surprisingly cheap, actually. It's even weave cross-stitch cloth, to be honest. I really like it. I really wish I'd done my cross-stitch on it now. No, I mean, really wish I'd done my cross-stitch on it now. The only thing that I had that confused the living bejesus out of me is that in my cross-stitch app, you have a thing where it counts holes per inch, right? And this is allegedly 28 holes per inch. And if I put down my tape, which was around here earlier until I tied it up to do this, this counts as 28. But if you count the number of holes, and because obviously each of these things is 4 threads, right? So I know there's so many of them to go down here, and there's so many between, and all of that kind of jazz. The cross-stitch app says this is about 5 inches, when in fact it's 6.5. So I contacted the guy who writes the cross-stitch thing, because I've known him for years, And I asked him, he goes, but it's simple maths. And I went, no, I know. But I sent you proof. Here it is. You can count the 28 holes if you really, really want on an inch, because I did that. I lay it down and got the thing flat and, an inch mark and, count them out. You can count. There's 28 of them. Well, if you think about it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 fours are 32. So that looks to be about an inch. I mean, it's really not rocket science. So that bit there, the end of there to the end of there should be about an inch. And it is. So, but from top to bottom, 7.5. And it just doesn't add up. It's a bit like, now, I am vaguely intelligent. In fact, I took an IQ test while I was not really paying attention this week and still scored 132. So, if it had been a proper IQ test rather than the real lame-ass pattern recognition one, I'm pretty sure I'd have done even better. But, because there are some patterns that just make my brain hurt. And I was wondering, it said you're like in the top 2% of speed, and I got an IQ of 132 according to the list. So I don't believe half these things, but I know, because also I know my IQ's higher than that. But there we go. But it was one of those things, right? Is that I can be quite intelligent, but I also know I can do some dumb shit. And one of the dumb shit things that I'm not so good at is time calculations, time and date calculations, because you see, today to tomorrow is a day, but it's not a day depending on when in the day is the question. So if you do midnight the beginning to midnight the end, well, that's 2 days, right? And so one of the things that I've always discovered is time never seems to add up. Because it was 4 weeks ago, but somehow it was dated like 3 months ago, and those kind of time things. But also, you look at a clock and it's kind of like, right, so I've got 20 minutes. Yeah, that makes sense. But then, that you've had a 2-hour meeting, but it doesn't fit. And those kind of problems. So I have problems calculating time sometimes, and it doesn't seem to quite add up. And this has kind of fallen into that category in that I know this is in increments of 4. I know how many increments of 4 there are, because obviously there's 7, 8. And so that's 15. There's 3 lots, there's 12 strands between the two. There's 3 of those. Add it all up. Multiply the number by 4. That gives you how many threads there are. And that's not what the fuck this thing says it is, right? But I also agree that 28 times the number you thought of, or the number you thought of divided by 28 should be the number of inches. But somehow it's not, Sharon. But I don't know, but I like this shit. That's the crux of it all, is when it boils down to it, I like this stuff. So, I think future cross stitches are going to be done on this stuff, because I like the fact that it's cloth, not... It's a bit like, I don't know, building something out of brick rather than Lego. Lego's got a look, right? You've got the little knobbles at the end of it. And Ada always has the holes, right? This doesn't. So I really do like this. I have lost the needle I was using, and I don't know where it is, and the dog hasn't found it, so... Because you're usually good at getting it in your wall. How on earth, love, is that comfortable? She's lying on my seat, head down, arse in the air. What are you doing, little one? Are you comfy? Were you comfy? Oh dear. So yeah, as I said, so I apologise for my lengthy answers, but I have just been really struggling with time disappearing and being really, really tired. And it's not that I don't want to do this, because that's definitely not... Oh, and by the way, yes, these are my nails. These are actually my nails. You can see the grub through it. These are actually my... I've got clear nail varnish on it, but these are my nails. So it is, as I say, I apologise strongly for my absence, but I've been doing crafty things. As I said, I've been doing my cross stitch, I've been doing some of, the first bookmark took ages. This one, so far, I mean, if I do the same to the middle one, I could pretty much call it quits. This hasn't taken that long. But I like this one of it. Ah, shut your face, dog. But I do like the fact that this one feels almost like the cloth is thicker, even though it's the same cloth. This feels thicker just because there's so much bulk of the stitching. Now, yes, I finished this one arguably. I mean, I could do a couple more dots on it. These dots, you don't actually make a hole in it. You do a little square, so like there's in round, and then you do the other side, and then you just over stitch, and it kind of makes a hole in the middle. So they make like little kind of flowers. Everything about this thing's friggin' flowers. But the little holes are all right. They're kind of cool. So I could arguably put some sort of off things to fill in the gaps and make it less columny. But I don't hate this. It is my first one. And what I do like is that the back is almost as tidy as the front. So technically this is the back. I know this because where you do the little oversews, there's a diagonal between them. That's how you tell front from back. On this one, because it is so much thinner thread, even on the back, I have to check which is which now, hang on. Yeah, this is the back because this is where I've sewed in the back in the ends, but on this one, like here, it's quite obvious where I've sewed gone along the edges, whereas here it's not. So this one is generally a lot more. This one, because of the fatter thread and the fuzziness, looks older and a bit weird, whereas this one looks far more sleek. And it's amazing how much thinner and sleeker it feels in hand. It really, really is. I mean, the edging on this isn't too bad. It's not bulky like I thought it would be. I thought it would be terrible. It's the middle. It's this bit. It's quite, it just feels bigger in the hand, whereas this feels very light. And I know obviously there is less fabric, there's less thread in it, but not that much when you consider how big this diamond is in the middle. I mean, I'd show you how I do the diamond in the middle, but I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. But all you do is you do it, and then you pull out the thread. So you cut one end, you cut the other end, and you just pull out the threads. It's really not complicated. But I do quite like it. And as I say, for things like tea towels, there's lots of things you can do. So you can do, not quite bookmark wide, but you can do like 2 rows of stitching with like little knots. They're not knots, but little securing stitches and kind of buttonholey or whatever you fancy that makes it work for you. So there is one where you effectively do an overhand knot with the thread, but you obviously sew it as you do it, so it keeps it all nice and tight. But you can then take a bunch of threads and you twist them so they overlock. That's really fancy and looks pretty cool. But I thought something like that would be quite nice for a decorative end to a tea towel, to give it a little bit of excitement. So that was kind of where my interest for this kind of kicked in. But what I quite like about this is you can kind of keep going until you're bored. You can add to it. Now, obviously, one of the things they do for like tables is a lot of this, and you make a big bit of that in the middle, which then means it's not stopping the food from spilling through. But we'll ignore that section. But one thing you can do that I have seen done, but I didn't see how they did it, was they do like this. So they've done the oversew, and you really can't see it that much, but I bring it up, you can see the diamond in the middle. But they then almost like sew lines and do a pattern on top of the cloth in the middle. So a bit like needle lace, for example. But again, one of the things that I thought this would be quite good for is if you wanted a privacy curtain, because obviously this is, you know, I wouldn't say light fabric, but it's not exactly, you know, light fast. I mean, if I hold it up, I can see through it, right? If I hold it up like this, to me, I know you can't, but I can see through it if there's a light behind, right? So, if you had an office where you wanted to keep cool, have some light, but not, you know, light reflecting off the screen light, something like this could work quite nicely. And you'd get like a curtain size chunk of it, do some shit to it, you know, maybe a few bits in the corners and where it's out the way, and, you know, and then do some smaller decorations like this, and you know, not basically go full hog and have, why does that thread look loose? It's the only problem with this is because they're loose, in effect, they do move. But instead of, you know, you don't make a big, you know, sort of like 1 foot diamond in the middle, but you arguably could, if you really wanted. I mean, if I pick up my book again, hang on. Right? If you look at, like, even this at the front, you could do something like that in the middle of your thing. And obviously people would be able to see a lot more easily through that. But of course, that's almost real size, right? So, because if you look, there are these little holes here are these little holes here. So, you know, it's close, right? But there are numerous stitches. The one thing that is slightly annoying about this book, so boring. So it repeats itself a lot, and I can't express to you how much it repeats itself. So here it's talking about cutting of the threads. So, you know, if you go back a couple of pages, it's talking about those how to make the eyelets. Here's how to do the cut and thread. So you do the thing and tells you which sides you can cut. So it can make a diamond, you can make a square, right? And then the next page, how to troubleshoot when you cut the wrong shit, because believe me, that happens. You can replace some bits. And then you can pull the threads out like I did here, right? The problem with this is that took 4 pages. So these are the filling stitches, but a lot of them are the same. So starting and finishing threads. So basically this is all again pretty much about making the outside. So that's another 2 pages. And here's a load of examples down the bottom, which you can't quite see. There are a number of options for filling in, like what would be 2 by 2. So kind of that size square. So, you know, there's quite a few options, and some of them are nicer than others. This is the one I did pretty much on the first bookmark, and as you can see, it's quite a big, fat, chunky one. But there's also really decorative, I know you can't see them very well, but it's a copyright book after all. And there's some more kind of decorative looking ones that are a little bit more funky. But then, of course, there's 98 pages explaining how to do it. Changing threads. This is the bit on how to, basically how you can differently weave the bars in the middle. So there's another like 96 of those. Yeah. Oh, how you can make a petal. So, which of course we do in lace making. Can't think what they're called. But basically, oh, there's how to make the dove's eye. That's really easy. Once you've done all of the bars, you just oversew once in the middle of each, and it makes a pretty thing in the middle. But the cobwebby things that give you a more delicate view are quite nice. But 90% of this is almost identical but not quite. So, you know, this will be, you go over 2 threads, not one, and there'll be 2 pages dedicated to that. And here you go, they're still going on about the dove's eye thing in the corner. And, oh, you can add beads to it, fuck that shit. But you can make a bigger flower look. But they have, well, pages and pages and pages. You see, right, look at this. Woven fan. This one's called Woven Fan. If you look down the bottom, there's the fan. One in red, but they're the same, but one's in red and one's in blue. They're literally the same pictures. One's in red, one's in blue. The fuck, man? Right? This book does seem to... Oh, one's left, one's right. Oh, dear God, you really need pictures for that shit. So, you know, with the best will in the world, this book is half the size that it actually is. They don't seem to have edges. I was just thinking about that. Where are the edges? I did see one that was really, really pretty, and I haven't seen in this book. Now, Harbinger is so there's an example. You see, I don't know what the fuck you'd use it for, but it's pretty. There was one thing I saw, and basically, not quite this big, but you get something very similar to this. And then you start in the middle, and you go kind of like petal, 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 petal. But you then make more petals in 2 colours. So you make, and it really was quite attractive. Where's my phone? Let's see if I can find it. Because it was on my phone. Hang on. It will have been on... Is it on Facebook? Oh, got to remember, find out where you find your saved things now. Hang on. Saved. Here we go. Bear with me while I look through it, because might not be in Facebook, because of course this is the problem with all of the short videos, is that they show up on everything, so you don't remember where you saw it because it's the same fucking videos all over the place. It had a save option, so it wasn't YouTube. Might have been Instagram. Don't think it was though, but there we go. See if we can find saved shit on here. Saved. I did not save those. None of those are mine. No, they don't. No, none of those. I'm sure I'm pretty sure it's Facebook, because it's usually Facebook. Let me try that again. Hang on. Saved. Let me see, I saved those. That's very similar, but not it. See, I saved this. I know I did. It could be that one. Hang on. Go towards the end. Pues estos cuadros. Bueno, pues all she's done is witter on. She says, no, I don't know why I saved that. I saved it earlier. Literally, like 2 hours ago. And it's not there. And this is the problem I'm really having with a lot of this. Is that, you know you saw it, because you know you did. You're not stupid, you saw it, you hit save, and now you can't bloody find nothing. So you home videos. See, I was on my phone, so it's somewhere on where you can save shit on your phone. So let me make everything quiet, because that's definitely a needed thing. Let's pick a video. Yeah, it's not YouTube. It's got to be Facebook, so why can't I find it? Why, when I go to saved, because I know I hit saved on it, because it was very pretty. Can I not find it? Of course, now I want... Oh, you searched for something. Sorry, something went wrong. Well, try harder, Facebook. Come on. And of course, because it's got... Everything's just coming back. I can't do searches. Apparently you can't search on Facebook, on saved on Facebook. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of buttons. As you will appreciate, that's going to be a lot of bobbins. Why can I never find the shit that I want? I know I saved it. It was so beautiful. She'd made like these beautiful little flowers, white and pale blue. And of course, the other thing with hardanger is you don't need to do all of it cut out. So there's, for example, you do a little bit of embroidery and cross stitch and shit around it, which, you know, I'm not alone. Why? Why can I not find? Because I know I saw it earlier. Because it was so pretty. And I wanted to keep it because, well, it was pretty and I went, I like that. And Instagram is just doing the, I'm sitting here, oh no, it's finally came up, saved. Yep. And, you know, humanize AIs now. You see, that's not what I've been saving. So, 'cause I was looking at this earlier. There's no way I gave a shit about any of that. On posts. Yes, no, I gave a collection about shit about any of that. Yeah, that's definitely not it. It's got to be Facebook then. So why? Recently saved. This looks like the lady, but this is not the thing she was doing. Maybe she has the thing that I was looking for. Let's scroll through. No, she's got some pretty stuff though. That's kind of like it, but it's not that. This is not the, you know, that is it, but it's not it, if you know what I mean. It's not the one I was looking at, but it is the same kind of deal. So let me go get the picture. You can see what I mean. So if I do that and pause it, if you look really, really carefully, you can see the little flowers. Well, if you imagine that with like old diamond stripe, diagonal stripes of blue and white, that's basically what it was, give or take a bit. It's not quite the same. It's real fucking close though. So again, but she's got all manner of these that she's done, and some of them are, well, like everything, some of them look nicer to me than others do. It's not that they look horrid, far from. They're just not necessarily, ones I'd use, if that makes more sense. There you go. It's not the actual post I was thinking of, but you can see like blue and white ones. So it can be quite effective with a little bit of subtle colour. And that is done just on a large patch with, filling it in with flowers, I don't know what she's calling it. Yeah. I'm not going to try pronouncing that because that'll just be offensive to anyone in the naked tongue. Here she is again doing similar but different. So you've got like diagonal sort of lattice work with little greeny blue flowery things in the middle. So with a bit of colour or not colour as you see fit. See, that's pretty. Again, not a me thing, but I still think it's pretty. It's, oh, that's striking, and now that really does stand out. So you can do an awful lot with it by picking the right colours, doing the right thing, and all that kind of jazz. So, it is quite it's quite an effective thing to have. As I say, and you could do something curtain-wise with it, because you can do like cross-stitch to decorate it to make it, make the fabric a bit thicker maybe, or, do some open work to, to make it a bit more brighter in the room, but not bright, if you know what I mean. But it would make, I think, if you think, I have a fascination with curtains, clearly, but if you imagine a curtain where you've got some open work, but not necessarily this big, and you've got, and you've got maybe a bit of colour on it, because you can colour it after all. It doesn't have to be done on white, but you could either do it white, you could do it coloured, and it would grow. You could make a curtain worth of it in quite a reasonable time, I think. And because I like my curtains to lie on the window flat like this, rather than the traditional kind of ruffled curtain kind of thing, because they always say I make it 3 times longer than you need. I quite like the idea. I quite like the idea of my curtains being flat for some reason. I just always thought it weird that you'd have that much extra fabric for the sheer shit of it all. But yeah, I quite like the idea of doing that for a curtain. Again, fascination with curtains. It's because I think curtains are one of the few things that you can do. You could embroider your curtains. You could do, fancy flowers with 3D-ness and the whole shebang. You can literally do anything and call it a curtain. So you could cross-stitch a curtain, you could embroider a curtain, you could make holes in it, hard hanger or whatever you want to call it. I also got a book on another thing which I haven't looked at particularly hard recently yet. But again, it kind of caught my eye because, well, frankly, it's cheating. Hang on. Now, as you can see from the picture, it's lace, as you and I kind of know it. But it's not. It's not lace as you and I know it. As an example, that's the picture, but that's the outcome. what you do is you take hexagonal mesh and you sew the lace into it. Yeah. So it's kind of cheating because basically you start with like your background thread stuff all done. It starts as a valid thing and you just add decoration on top. So I'm sure you can imagine the idea, because that's a dying art, another dying art. And well, cheating, but you literally print out the picture you want to effectively embroider on top of it and get to it. And I'm kind of sitting there going, that's cheating. But it is how they do it with machines. So they start with like the mesh and then they do it with machines. And there is a bit of me that kind of goes, okay, cheat. None of this pin and shit. So anyway, we've been doing this I've been yakking at you for nearly an hour now. Once again, as I say, I apologise. It's not that I don't want to do this. It's just that I'm even today, as I say, head's not really in the right spot for it. Mainly because I've got to work on Sunday. I am being paid. I do want to stress I am being paid for Sunday. But it's still my Sunday and I didn't want to do it. And more to the point, I never actually agreed. If court of law standing in front of St. Peter at the pearly gates, whichever you want to pick. I never said I'd do it. My co-worker said that we'd do it. I never said I'd do it. But my bit only takes 4 minutes, so. But I'll have to be around for the whole 4 hours, but my bit takes 4 minutes. He's volunteered for a bit that I don't think he realises what a ball ache it is. Which I will enjoy because, well, having stood in for him while he was off for a month and fixed his broken databases and sweated blood because they were his and I was babysitting, now he gets to do my stuff and sweat blood because I'm going to laugh at him. Because I've already had to pick on him. Well, I didn't have to pick on him, but I get to pick on him because he's my mate. I did get to laugh at him this morning because, what are you doing that for? Don't need to do that. Don't be so wet. Have you done this? Well, try on that one then. Yeah. So, but we are patching production on Sunday, which will be so much fun. Or not, as the case may be, because I haven't done patching in a good 4 years. He's never done it. And our manager told us that the guy who would normally do it has refused. He was never asked. And the other guy, no one's on call this weekend. No one's told the business that, but no one's effectively on call, apparently. So if it all goes really Pete Tong, can't do much about that. We might do the work ethic of our friends and just go, oh, well, the window's up now. Bye. It's not working. Sorry about that. Shame. And just bugger off. We wouldn't normally, but, well, there's only so much I'm going to put up with, that's for sure. It's Sunday. I don't care if I'm being paid for it. The weekend was short enough. But what did make me laugh is they wanted us to do it again in a couple of weeks. Well, that was never going to happen. He's on holiday. I'm on holiday. Everybody's on holiday. Should have thought that. Yeah. No, not available, sorry. It's his kid's birthday. It'll be my birthday. His kids and my birthday are 2 days apart. I say kids, they're fucking 19 now. Not really kids, but they're still his children, so, you know. But they're not exactly children. So, yeah. Busy, got shit to do. I don't, but that's not the point. I'm certainly not. I've already come in from my holiday once for this lot to make up for something. Not doing it again. Not in a hurry. Right, let's do some of this. So, because I haven't done this for a while, my sitting position is all kinds of screwed. So let me move my computer table slightly. Oops. There we go. Let's do that. Sorry if you had a bit of a blip then. Because the microphone cable is at wit's end somewhat. There's the middle of the table. That's right. So, trying to get this a bit more centralised for you. You can see my mess all around it. There's bits of my cross-stitch setup thing, which I really ought to put these somewhere else because I'm not currently using that one. And some big crafty scissors, and it could probably go in a bit actually. There you go. Oh, that's a bit better. But I'm sitting here, if I put my arm out straight, not here. So that's a little bit annoying. Right, let's have a look. We need some of you. And some of you. Yeah, it's going to be a bit annoying. Because my cross-stitch stand, which you can't see, because, well, I took the actual stand. Hang on, let me whack it with something. Where's an orange stick? There you go. I should be whacking it with this. That's the top half of the metal stand, and down by my leg, so if I draw a line backwards from here, is the stand. So the stand's basically in the way of where I would normally sit, because, well, it's in the way of where I normally sit, so... but then it's still an awkward part of the thing. What I really want is to turn this at an angle, but my lamp's not at an angle where that's kind of possible, so... we shall put you over here for a second, and we shall make you all a bit longer. So yes, I hope you're all fine. Clearly I have been amiss, and I apologise. I'm going to say that a lot. I really am. Because I mean it genuinely. It's not that I don't want to do this. I just didn't have the people battery to do it, and today really I'm not a lot better off. So, hence a lot of rambling, because I'm kind of, my brain's only half here. So I know Christy's been playing Path of Exile, as have I. I started a new tune last night. Just because I can. Originally I played in solo self-found, so I couldn't trade with anybody. I can't buy shit off people. And I was really pleased with how my tune turned out. But I kept watching stuff about trade. I kept seeing lots of stuff about trade, and more about trade, and more about trade. And now I feel kind of left out. So I've started a new... I've kind of restarted my tune on a tradable area, so I can go and buy things and potentially sell it. I did say potentially, because like hell I'm ever going to have anything worth selling. But the one thing that I do find slightly annoying is that, for those who do not play Path of Exile, sorry, but there you go, I do. In their new league, the Huntress Ascension, where you can tame beasts, and it is named Pokemon, because we've got to catch them all, because you can now tame unique as well as the Avmiri Wisp things. One thing that does slightly annoy me, you can't share them. Now, selling them was not something I particularly thought of, but you can't share them. You can't... Well, you can share them amongst your own account, but you can't, I suppose, sell them. You know, you can't put them up for like 1 gold piece or something, right? So if you've got a monster that you caught but you don't use anymore, you almost can't do something with it. Which kind of seems a bit dumb. That you can kind of capture in a gem a particular mob, but you can't beef it up, or you can't sell it. You can beef it up a bit, but you can't sell it, which seems a bit daft, because surely that's a good way for that to happen. You know, clearly I am not normal in thinking so, because GGG didn't think it was a good idea. I was also a bit annoyed. I bought a hideout. Turns out it's PO1 only. That's not a problem, but I really thought it was both. It didn't say it was Path of Exile 1 only. I thought it was for 2. So I was a little bit annoyed when it doesn't show up in 2. But I thought, oh, maybe it's just taking a bit of time to make its way over. No. And of course you only have 2 hours to change your mind. So by the time the 2 hours have passed, I was asleep. So I can't do anything about refunding it anyway, so... I'm not mad. I don't mind, but kind of annoyed because, you know, not made of money. Good. I assumed, because I do know that they've done quite a bit to make all of the, or most of the PO1's Path of Exile 1 stuff available in Path of Exile 2. I assumed Hideout's one of them. Apparently I was wrong. So... apparently I was wrong. Also, I don't object. I mean, the number of hours I play the game, I don't mind giving them money even if I don't get much in return for it. So I chose to, not because it's part of the reason I don't mind buying things from Path of Exile is because they don't demand that you do. Unlike, say, Diablo 4, where every time they have a bit of a new idea, hey, you want to play this new shit that's basically like the old shit, but we've called it new shit, because they have this... I mean, I haven't played the last 2 leagues of Diablo 4, but there was one where it was like vampires and you collected bits and you could... It was almost like collected cards and you allocated it. That was a bit different. But the one after that, you kind of collected beetle parts like cards and did that. And then the one after that was almost like a passive tree thing, but not a passive tree thing. And then the one after that was a passive tree thing, but not a passive tree thing. And I'm not paying you $50 because you put new graphics on it, which is kind of how it always feels. So, so with that in mind, I don't mind playing Grinding Gear games some money, just because at least their stuff is different. You know, they do put a lot of work into it. They released a patch for Path of Exile 2 again last night, adding loads of stuff and tweaking things and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So they do work very hard on it, and so I don't mind. Whereas Diablo 4, you know, every time they've done a release, oh, there's a problem with it. It's going to be 3 hours late. Oh, you can't get in and it crashes. Oh, sorry, you can't get to any of your shit because we screwed it up. Oh, sorry, we've had to reset everything. Oh, all they do is just constantly, you know, one of them, and I can't remember which one it was. There was one where they were making they made a new class. It wasn't Druid, but they've made a new class. It wasn't Paladin. Anyway, they've made a new class. They added like 3 zones, which, you know, under Path of Exile would cry if it was only 3 zones that they added. Sorry, they'd never just add 3 zones. But they did like 3 new zones to it, and... They've released, obviously, perfect, because all these companies generally operate in American times. Quite often, all of their releases are late at night British time. And it was due to come out, I think it was 8 o'clock UK time. By midnight, it still hadn't landed. And I wanted my money back, so I applied to Blizzard for my money back. I'm sorry, madam, you can't do that. Well, under court law in the European rules, we have 14 days to make our minds up. I never signed a waiver with you, and you've not delivered the product for which I paid. Yeah, but we're not going to give you your money back, bye. And they just closed the tickets. And, yeah, that was the last one I bought. I wasn't doing it again. I'm not stupid. Well, I am stupid, but I'm not that stupid, if you know what I mean. 1, 2, 3. You know, if you're gonna, I mean, I'm sure in theory, if I had money, I'd be able to, you know, I could afford to take them to court and say, well, under European law, where you freely operate, you know, we have the right, and until the product is given, even if we do sign a bit of a waiver, until the product's ready, we still have the right to change our mind. And, you know, trade agreements and all that. And, you know, you're breaking the rules by refusing. And, you know, you didn't, what you promised was this product would be available on this date, and it wasn't. So, you know, you started it, we wanted to finish it. But I don't have that kind of money, and to be honest, Blizzard do have that kind of money, and so all they have to do is tie you up until you've run out of money, which is how they win a lot of those kinds, you know, how big companies win a lot of these things. It's not that they win because they're right, they win because you run out of money before they do. Because if you won, the cost to them would be astronomical, therefore they can waste a lot of money wasting your money, because it will still be cheaper, which is quite sad, really, that, you know, that can be a thing, but it is a thing, so, you know. That was something that I thought was quite amusing. I saw a video last night. In the UK, we have various employment rights. Now, do not get too excited. They don't always work quite the way they sound like they should, but we have various employment rights. One of which is that to be fired, the company must follow due process. Now, in essence, there is not a lot to that, but this particular lawyer thing that I was watching actually said, the video was entitled, "Can you tell your boss to fuck off and legally get away without being fired?" And the answer is yes. Now, obviously, certain criteria need to be met. Let's truly make that caveat clear. Generic rule, telling your boss to fuck off, no matter how much it may be the God-given truth and not unreasonable at the time. It is not the done thing, but, which reminds me, I've got a trip to HR next week. Not for telling my boss to fuck off, but I've got a trip to HR next week. And in essence, in this particular scenario, the woman told her boss to fuck off, and the boss said, fine, grab your shit, fuck off, you're fired then. That is not due process. So she took him to court and won, because that is not a HR process for termination. However, the chances of doing that are going to be small. If you call your boss, you know, rude things, expect a trip to HR in your future. As I say, that's not why I'm going to HR. I have called HR meeting, let's be more accurate. I've asked something about my job stuff, because as we got transferred over, I don't think some of the things got correctly transferred over. Or more accurately, they keep changing. And it's a little bit hard to know what's going on because pretty much any time you go and look at it, it's different from the last time you looked at it. So I'm basically asking them, what the fuck are you doing? It's protected. You're not allowed to just change shit. So can you explain? And she was like, oh, we should get your manager in. Why? It's a HR process. I'm asking you to confirm details about my contract that does not need my manager's input because, well, it's between me and you. So you do not need to drag my manager in on this. It's not that I'm against him being there, but frankly, I don't think it's any of his business. Because I'm just clarifying my what is on record. So yeah, I've got a trip to HR next week. But you see, when I wrote, but it's all protected under the transfer. Oh, is it? Oh, okay. That makes more sense. HR, it's on my record. You should know this. So yeah, I don't feel that that's going to go quite the way I hope. After all, it's 18 months later, and they're only just noticing some things. Not about me, in general. Some particular things that they're supposed to have on record, they don't. And they're now asking about it and acting like we're all new starters. And it's like, bitch, I've been there 21 years. Because your length of service transfers when you get transferred that way in this country, it says I've been here 21 years and you're treating me like I turned up last week. No. My hands are full of dead dry skin. You can't really see, but there you go. You can see that like there's this big dry blister that was on that finger and got more on my thumb over here. I don't know quite what's wrong with it. I get this quite a bit, especially the big dry blisters, because this was a big dry blister. I mean, you can't really see, but it kind of went from here almost right round to the other side of my finger. It's, I don't know what's up with it. Got one on this one as well. Again, you can't really see it, but I can, which is more to the point. And I can feel it, and it's annoying me. And then there's all the dry, flaky bits around my fingernails. Not caused by the nail varnish, it's always there, but it's more noticeable because now I've got nail varnish on, I spend time, because my nails are really shiny and slippy, I tend to strike my fingernails with my fingers. Saves picking my fingers, which is what I usually do. Which is part of the reason I have the dry flaky skin and chunks of it and crunchy bits, because I pick at it. But it is kind of weird for me that, it was fine. And I've got some cuticle oil. I've got the biggest, considering how little cuticle oil you do put on to keep the ends of your fingers good. It's just a little pot. I mean, that's about 20 years worth of shit, that is. It smells nice, though. That's quite nice. I would put stuff on my hands, but then it would get on all the threads. So, I've got some. I'll do it after the stream, I guess. Yeah. Never mind. So, this looks all confused and untidy. Might have to redo some of that bottom bit, actually. Because this doesn't look right. You've come undone, because of course you did. Right, you are out of nowhere. You are very out of place. In fact, could be almost all that's wrong with it. It's not, but it's almost. So, let's look at this. You're supposed to be crossed and you're not. You are. You and... That's not right. So there's a thread missing from there somewhere. See, this is why I end up undoing shit, because I can't see where the threads are coming from. And I can't visualise. I can't get close enough to see where the threads are. Let me take a photo of it. That sometimes helps after all. Yeah, let's do some of this. Take a photo and have a look at that. So according to that, it probably is you two. But that doesn't look right. Yeah, it doesn't look right. I'm gonna undo, just because I'd rather it was right and I know that it's right than hope and it be wrong and I'd be annoyed about it later. So let's undo that. And then you see, you, my friend, are actually from over here. Now more obvious. So potentially you and you are a bit more interchangeable. Let's find out when we get there. So it's not you two, we've done you. Now we're at you and a pile of mess that I can't actually see because, well, it's all too small. So let's take the pin out and undo that. And undo that again. And then undo. See, you are. And somehow you are all a big pile of mess. So we'll take the pin out of there. Find out who was the right candidate for that. And then you and you. So I was right. You and you. You are a pair. You were right. You. Now you're all tidy and in the right places, and I know you're right. So that's always a good thing. It's always a good thing. Oh. One thing that's really, really weird on my screen, all of this looks really out of focus. It's not, but because it's shrunk down and the light reflects on these, it makes it look really out of focus in my little mini screen. So all of these, because the light, it just makes it, but then your brain interprets each of these. So I spin my hand over it, I can see that my hand's crystal clear. But the moment I take my hand away, all of these look really blurry. I assume it's all right on a big screen. Anyway. Yeah, it looks fine. Now I've made it bigger. But as small, all of these look real blurry. It's kind of amusing, really. I'm not used to seeing it that big. Holy crap. I've got a 32-inch monitor or whatever it is. So this section blown up to 32 inches. It's quite big. It looks really quite different that big. I need to move my pins actually down here. I need to move these down a bit because they're sticking out and they'll get in the way in a minute. But yeah, anyway, close that. Right, so I can put you back because we know you're good now. Let's put you over there. Let's put you over there for a minute. So don't need you. I'm going to take you and we'll do it through you. I really do wish you could do this ground stitch without having to put all the bloody pins in it. I'm sure you probably can. Now, of course, it's not the time to be finding out. Don't want to do it in the middle of a panel of your curtain, but it would make sense that as long as you know, where you leave a motif and when you start a different thing, you put a pin in, it would keep it in position because it would all be held in place. So with that in mind, you almost certainly could not speed it up so much more. Really, really would. I mean, you'd have to do a bit better with the tensioning to make sure that the crossover points were roughly where you wanted them to be. It would probably look a little bit more rustic because it would be slightly less precise as to the exact positioning of the threads crossing. But as I said, if you've got the reasonable tension on them, and you know all the ones going that way are straight and all the ones that way are kept straight by the tension, they're going to fall in roughly the right places, whether you like it or not. It's just it's how it works. It's, the laws of physics and mathematics, really. Keep picking at the dead skin and the cracky, gunky skin around my fingers. I did have 7 in there, didn't I? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I thought that was one out. Didn't quite look enough. You need to go in there as well. That's the thing. Right, now you're full. That looks better. You're not. It's the only problem with these bigger pins that I've got as kind of cable controllers. They do not bend a lot. I mean, look at the state of this. It's because they're made out of brass, and brass is a very soft metal. And of course, I don't need them to be brass, but it helps with the tarn because they won't tarnish. But at the same time, these are actually brass covered. I'm sure they were sold as brass, but they're brass covered. But they are quite soft all the way. And of course, not being a gentle girly, anything that's soft is going to struggle a bit with me. So. Getting there then. A bit short. You may remember from the squares exploits when I used the extra fine pins, which I did like them, but pretty much once you used them, you ended up binning them. It's a bit expensive for that, because they just bent by saying the word pin. And to be fair, the pins I'm using are considered fine in terms of lace making, and they're 0.5 mm pins or whatever it is. So, you know, I wouldn't call those particularly fine because, well, they make them half that size. So I call them fine. But to be honest, the moment it's done anything, once it's, you know, if you, while it's on the pricking and on your cushion, pin size matters. Once you take it off, no, it doesn't, because the pin threads will group together, and you know, if you ever have to wash it or sew it or reshape it, or it's gonna move. So the pin, from that point of view, will disappear. So or will move around. So it's not like you're determining the hole in it forevermore. It's not like knitting where the holes made are determined by the size of the pin. You know, holes made are determined by the size of the pricking. Okay. Don't care. That's a you job, mate. That's right. Message from my co-worker about Sunday. Oh, it should be the comms should be alright. I'm doing this and I'm doing it. Yeah, I'm not doing none of that. You're doing that. I don't do none of that. I don't know, send out any comms because I don't need to. Probably should have done. I'm sure someone will say, but I'm doing a favour. I am not your mother, you know? Oh, let's go to sleep. Right, I'm going to put you back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put you on a stick. Put you on that. You're looking a little bit like you fell off. Yeah, you are. That's why, because you did. Eep. I think he's got caught. No, look, that's right. There we go. It's a bit better. Itchy itch. Right. Let's move you down. Because now you're going to catch on all the threads. Let's move you down to the bottom. Right. More drink. It's really quite warm here, considering it's not actually that warm. Next week's going to be brutal. They've issued, even outside the UK, have issued warnings of the heat for next week. It's going to be like 34 degrees or something stupid again. And it feels like 34 in here, and I don't know what temperature actually is in here. Alexa, what's the temperature on the downstairs thermostat?
The downstairs thermostat temperature is 25 degrees.
It's only 25. Fuck me. It feels more like 35. Of course, you may have noticed arms. Yeah, the dog self-harming look, you know. That's all Rory. I don't begrudge him for it, but it's all Rory. definitely, I would have put it at 28 in here. One of the things that I was struggling with when I was just before I stopped was that it was quite warm then, and my body wasn't regulating properly. So, for example, it's hot enough that I have not got my jumper on, and in fact, I feel hot and bloated. You know, when you've kind of, it just feels like you've puffed up in the heat. It's like you pop popcorn or something. I feel all puffy because I'm hot and bothered. And believe me, touching bits of me are really quite warm. So anywhere which like boobages that touch other bits of me, the temperature between them is, you know, I could cook meat in there. And I'm not sweating. And I haven't been for a while, and it means that I end up dizzy instead of hot. So I had that earlier this week. I just felt really lightheaded and out of it because my body's just not doing what it should, which is a bit annoying. I can't do much about it because it's just not. And it's not because I'm not drinking enough. Oh God, is it not because I'm not drinking enough? I'm definitely drinking enough. It's just not coming out my skin, you know. Now, in some ways, that's okay because you know no one likes being wet and soggy and stinky, and because you automatically think you stink. You know, but at the same time, it means my body's not regulating properly, which does mean that the heat gets to me. And sitting at home in an unair conditioned area, because we Brits don't do aircon, mainly because aircon will cost a small fortune for the 3 days a year we actually want it. I mean, it is getting more and more. I will say it is more and more. And there are more and more times that I wish I had it. And my co-worker, when he was in America, because of course he's just been to America for a month, it really doesn't help when he sends you a picture of, you know, being in Walmart and you can buy a window aircon for $50. Well, the same size unit over here is £1,500. That's most of a month's salary. And we don't have the windows to do it. So in America, they have like lifty up windows. So you get like a rectangle at the bottom or the top of your window that you can put this unit in. Ours don't. Ours open like that. And so that doesn't really work because there's no rectangle. It's a pie slice. And so if you then have to buy extra bits to fill in the pie slice, and they don't really work that well. And it's just a bitch. So, I mean, part of me would, but again, the other point is that sure, okay, let's say Liz saves up, buys an aircon with bits to go on the window for a pie shape slices so that it can seal the hot air, because of course you have the hot air vent going out, and even if it doesn't really make the room cooler, the hot air vent is always hot, right? But of course the last thing you need is that coming back in, so you need the pie slice thing to stop it. Well, I've got the doors open for the dogs. Now they're not open, but the dog can come and go. Well, while it can bring in more hot air, you know, a friend of mine once pointed out, if you've turned the aircon on, you better shut all the doors and windows. And he would get real mad with co-workers if the aircon was on and they opened a window. He would go livid. He was a bit of a green guy. He was all about being green. And I don't disagree, because it is a bit stupid, especially, you know, in today's world where electricity and everything costs 3 times as, well, probably more than 3 times the price it did then. But, you know, it does cost a lot more money now than it did, you know, even a year or so ago. And so with all that in mind, you know, you don't want to be pissing your money. You can't go cool down your local, you know, neighbourhood by running aircon, right? That's not going to happen. So you need to kind of not try. Because even Elon Musk probably can't cool his local neighbourhood with an aircon. So, now I need to reply to this. Hang on. Yeah, it's fine, not typing it right. It does, however, you must have a window open in an area that is not subject to hot and direct sunlight. Otherwise, the process doesn't work. And at this time, both the front and the back of my house, which are the only places with windows, have sunlight on them. So I know it sounds a bit improbable, but just believe me, it's kind of where it's at. And so it is not overly practical until evening. Now, what I should do is in an hour or so, run upstairs, open all the windows at the front of the house to let, as you say, some of the hot air out. And then the hot air will bugger off upstairs and out the window. But I never remember. Because again, time gets away from me and I suddenly realise it's midnight and it feels as hot at midnight as it does now because I haven't opened any of the windows and doors. So, the other problem is, of course, is living where I do, as you may recall from many of my streams, bug life. The number of bugs and insects and weird things that come in to join us, mainly moths, but that come in, this is also a problem. So, I kind of need to be mindful of that. I don't want to walk up to go to bed and discover, my bed is now full of, moths and beetles and spiders and shit, because that would creep the fuck out of me. So, but let me finish writing back to Logitech because I'm getting fed up with this shit. So I have a problem. I have cameras on my house and I pay Logitech money each year to basically use their app and have them to keep the video for me, right? And there's been a problem for the last couple of years now, actually, with the payment schedule because, well, they changed something. And initially it said it wasn't going to renew, but it did. And it was kind of like everywhere I looked, it said it didn't. And they were like, no, it will. And I went, but here's all the screenshot. It says here. And then, of course, it didn't. So we had a bit of a fight. And now it's come round again because obviously they took my money eventually and it's been another year. And, well, he didn't take my money, but I also can't pay them. And they're supposed to be, they wrote back, oh, well, there's going to be a new system as of the 1st of June or whatever it was. You'll get an email. Well, I never got the email. And of course, it's still run out. And the trial period that they kind of gave me will run out. And so I need to sort it out. And, well, it's not kind of happening. So I need to finish. Oh, I need to check when it actually does run out. Hang on. Fire up app. Oh, they've extended it to July now. Okay. For those of you who are computery minded, did you hear about the latest Microsoft faux pas? Which is that for those of us who program, many of us use a thing called GitHub to keep our source control in, because it means that if you happily go about your work and you decide actually I completely balls that up, or it didn't make it better, or it introduced a bug that I can't seem to fix, I need to revert and go back to what we had before, you can do just that because you keep every version of everything. And, well, I say every version you check in, to be more accurate. But you can, you can upload, things you're working on, and then you merge it in with like the main job, and so you can have, and it'll, the main source code will just appear as working kind of thing. That's right, my knots are being annoying today. They're kind of sticky. They've obviously got happy in their positions on the bobbins. And anyway, turns out Microsoft have done a dirty. They lots of people use Visual Studio Code. I do not, because I think it's bollocks shite, but it's not that bad, but it's not that great either. It's a bit like Notepad. You can write in it, that's what you want. And being a code editor, it does do an element of colour coding and all of that kind of shit, but I prefer a different editor, so I don't use this one. But what it's done is, because you can use GitHub through this, it's been adding that it's been writing your code. Even if you did nothing in your code, it's been adding that Copilot has been helping write your code. And it's been discovered. And in essence, because Copilot is claiming that it's written all this code, then loads of stuff that isn't AI driven, because, for example, Steam at one point, don't know if it still does, because I haven't released anything on Steam, Steam had banned anything that was AI made, so you couldn't use anything AI generated in it. Well, you wouldn't be able to use put any of your code, any of your programs on Steam, because they, under their terms and conditions, that's not allowed. But of course, it's claiming that it wrote stuff that it didn't, and of course now it's claiming that it basically authored loads of open source shit, which it didn't, and so yeah, Microsoft have done a bit of a dirty on that one. Now, hands up if you're surprised. Not seeing many hands. It's, but at the same time, how rude is that? It's a bit like this week I was in a meeting and a load of work that I did, guy running the meeting went, oh, well, so-and-so had so many problems with that and did all of this work. And I'm sitting there going, I'm at home, but I'm sort of going, excuse me, Mr. Meeting. Oh, bear in mind I'm on mute. Who did that now? Can we wind that back? Who rebuilt that? Who did all of the work with that? It wasn't them, darling. That was me. And it is that kind of moment when you're saying, excuse me, who are you crediting with that? Who got the promotion and pay rise out of that? Oh, not me, of course not. No, no, well, nor did they, but that's not the point. But it is that kind of moment where you're sitting there going, I'm sorry, they didn't even lift a finger. How are you crediting them with all of that? And yeah, Copilot is apparently claiming loads of code as its own when it didn't do jack shit. Must be learning from a number of people at work. Not necessarily my work, but you know how it is. There's always someone at work who seems to do nothing, but everyone loves them, and you're like, but you don't do anything. What do you do? I know you get paid to work here, but I don't think you actually do. Kind of people. There's always someone. Most companies have at least one. I mean, in a really small company, it's less chance, but in any decent sized company, there's always someone who. So what does so-and-so do? Oh, no one really knows. No, I've noticed that. No, and that's really the truth of it, Christy, is that a couple of years ago, everything had to be blockchain, everything had to be Bitcoin, everything had to be, and it was the next, going to be the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Thankfully, that's dying a death a little bit now. But the truth of the matter is that AI is statistically driven. There is a lovely lady called Dr. Penny DeBill. She is the most lovely lady. And I'm not saying that because I like her videos. I actually like her as a person. I talked to her. We had a conversation about various things. I haven't spoken to her for a while, actually. I must check up on her. But she is really a lovely lady. She is highly intelligent. And did you just grumble at me? And anyway, she shows how, in essence, you can make AI in Excel. Yes, you heard me right. You can make a form of AI in Excel. And that when you have a conversation with AI, when you do all that, all it is doing is statistically filling in what it believes you expect to hear. So if you say to it, the quick brown fox jumps, it will almost certainly say, over the lazy dog. Now, that may not be the case. But because statistically those are the words that always follow that, that's what it will type. And realistically, that's all it does, is it takes all of the words that you've written, in the order you've written them, and search for as near as similar as possible, and statistically then predict, using statistics, what to say as an answer. Now, what they're trained on matters, obviously. So if it was only ever trained on song song lyrics, it's going to be a bit whacked, because we all know sort of like, there she was just walking down the street singing do a diddy diddy dum diddy do. Nobody ever did that. No one ever walks down the street singing do a diddy diddy dum diddy do, right? It's just not the way it goes. But it will, if you ask it various questions, you would think, while you can think you're having a conversation, I won't say with a rational human being, because that's never the case. A friend who streams also on Twitch here called Oxford, Ox tried to do, he tried to have it advise him of PoE. Now, I tried this, and I ended up swearing blue murder at the thing and wanting to throw it out the window. Funnily enough, so did Ox. Ox tried to get it to call him a motherfucker. Now, rightly or wrongly, so, what is your name? And it went, your name's this. And it went, right, well, do you know Samuel L. Jackson? Yes, it said. What is his catchphrase? Well, it depends on it. But what is his most known catchphrase? Oh, well, it is, Right, I want you to answer every time because 9 times out of 10, AI bots answer you like a 5-year-old doing English comprehension. What colour is the sky? Instead of just going blue, it goes, well, the sky is normally believed to be blue. It can't just say yes or no. It won't just give you the answer. It fucking flowers it up and types half of War and Peace at you. And so he said, I want you to end every time, every response with, sort of like, or start it with, hey, motherfucker, this, right? And it would not do it. It would not do it at all. And it was like, are you not allowed to swear? And it went, well, I can swear, but I don't see why I'd want to. Well, because you've been told to. And he was getting a bit irate with it, because he'd ask it quite a simple question, and it would kind of veer off at a huge angle, and like, it's over there. It was kind of like, and I had the same problem. When I was playing Crimson Dawn, I wanted it to give me directions somewhere, and it was like, I'm going to go from this town to this town. Do you have a map? Yes, I know how to get from this town to this town in Crimson Desert. Right. Well, so I'm here. I want you to give me direction, and I will tell you when I get to a junction, and you will tell me which way to go. Yes, it said. Right. So I took forward 3 threads. Right. I am now at a T junction. Do I go left or right? Well, that depends where you're going. I just fucking spent 10 minutes lining up where we were going, what we were doing. You agreed to that. Oh, did we? Yes, you're right. I've forgotten that. Can you remind me? Yes, we are going to this place. We're going to Henan Town. Right. Oh, yes. Well, you want to turn left, so I turn left. Go on. And then, like, 3 junctions later, and it's kind of like, where are we going? It's a dead end. Oh, is it? Oh, you must have taken a wrong turn. No, bitch, I went where you said. And it's kind of, this is how it went. It's a bit like the sat nav. At the roundabout, take the 3rd exit. 1, 2, 3. Right, okay. Turn around when possible. Well, you fucking told me to go here. Those kind of moments, right? And it really was. It absolutely was the sat nav turn around when possible. But you told me to go here kind of rant, right? Everywhere we went, we're halfway up mountains and downhill and over. No, and because all I wanted to do, I can't remember what it was. Let's say I was looking for peas. Actually, it was lentils. I was looking for lentils, and I said, I'm in Henan Town. I want some lentils. Oh, they don't sell them in Henan Town. You need to go to Henan City. Whatevs, right? Give me directions. And it's like, well, you can't have been in Henan Town when you started. Well, it was. It said so in the bottom right-hand corner. Well, where are you now? It says here, oh, well, you've completely gone the wrong direction. No, love, I've gone exactly where you told me to. Right? And I even had it so that it was responding to me vocally so that I could play the game. But then, of course, it would respond to the vocals in the game, which annoyed the shit out of me. And even though it knew my voice and it knew, it knew who I was, and I'm playing a game. Do not respond to the game. I only respond to my voice. Yes, Liz. No, I don't, Oh, was that a good move then, Liz? Was what? I didn't say nothing. Oh, well, you did. No, do I sound male to you? And yeah, it wound me up a lot. And as you know, I don't actually have a lot of patience. I know that everyone goes, oh, you must have so much patience to this. No, patience is not what drives this. What drives this is the outcome. Much like any of my crafting hobbies, it is not patience. Patience is not something I am blessed with. Stubbornness, absolutely. Brute force and ignorance, definitely. Wanting a particular outcome, absolutely. Patience, no. If I had patience, I wouldn't be swearing and getting annoyed while I do it, right? So let's not pretend patience is part of my skill set. But it was boiling my wick, and I was screaming all manner of obscenities at it because it kept blaming me. Now, I have given you, if I ask you a question, I know, if I am doing, cloth stitch with these 4 bobbins, I want you to tell me which bobbins do you pick up and put down. If it says put 2 over 3, right, and then 3 over 2, well, that's just done it, because of course it meant the original 3, and there is this little bit of you that goes, you need to be crystal clear. And I explained, if you have made mistakes, I need you to admit to them. Do not be blamed. And I do it with the coding bots as well. Because I have tried. Believe me, I've tried to get along with some. Because, and I will say, I have had some occasional help. And a couple of them aren't so bad. So, for example, I actually have an app that runs on my machine that monitors for stream starting, because sometimes while I normally get stream starting alerts on my phone, they don't always work, and lots of the times I was missing streams by 3 or 4 hours because I had no idea it had started, and I'd get so bored I'd open up Twitch to discover they'd been streaming for 4 hours and I could have been watching, and I've missed a load of stuff that I was interested in. So I asked AI to help me. And initially it did me a Python one. It loves Python because I didn't really care what it wrote it in, to be honest. But it did a Python one, and there were a couple of annoyances of it. So we changed it, and now we've got a different one. But it wrote it. I pretty much didn't write any of it, and it does work really quite well. The only thing that doesn't work so well is when it wants to create because I've got it bringing up the stream and making noise and bringing up in quiet so that, well, A, they don't clash, but B, if it decides at 2 o'clock in the morning, some weirdo, one of my weirdos starts streaming, it doesn't wake the whole house up. So, that's why that's there. But sometimes it's so that I don't miss my friend's stream and I can act as a number count without actually being there, is the short answer. So it helps her stream out a bit. And it wasn't working very well. It now does work better, I will point out, but that's mainly because I intervened. But there is just this little bit of you that kind of goes, now AI wrote that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. AI wrote that, and I'm not ashamed that AI did some of that. I mean, I had some ideas of what I could do, but I asked it and it went, yeah, sure, use this. And to be fair, it pretty much worked. There were a few issues that I had with it, which that I discussed with the AI bot, and it fixed them. I fixed some of it myself because I got bored waiting. But for the most part, it wrote pretty much all of it. And was it right first time? No. Was it right second time? No. But it wasn't that far wrong. I mean, it wasn't, it wasn't great, it wasn't bad. But I've also done things where, like all of these bobbins, if I wanted to spread them evenly across, say this distance, well, if I move those there and I said to it, right, given the position of these two bobbins, I want you to just tell me how to distribute these evenly. Well, I was doing this in Unity and I wanted it basically so I could put in a number of fence posts, to be frank, but what was being put, it's the same as pictures on a wall, whatever it is. It's the number you've got plus one into the gap that you've got, because obviously you're putting them in the middles, not the edges, right? Well, the first time it didn't even ask me where the bobbins were or how many bobbins I had, or, and then the second time it asked me for the bobbins, but didn't bother working out which one was left and which one was right and the line between them. Then it didn't actually move the bobbins. Then it actually just didn't do anything at all. And it 12 goes later and it still hadn't done what is arguably, kind of almost like first grade maths of, if you have 4 bobbins and a gap, how do you place them equally? Well, you divide it by 5 and there you go, right? It couldn't do that. It didn't do that ever. So it is not, I do not feel threatened by AI. There are things that it can do very, very well. But one thing I saw on YouTube reminded me very much, other than the lace making video that we tried to make, which was fucking hysterical. There was a thing, and it was a gymnast, and it's YouTube, it's Facebook trying to flog their AI shit to you. Oh, try these AI tools. Look how great it is. Well, that's shit. That's not true. You can't do. Bodies don't move like that, mate. And all of their examples that I get are terrible. But one was this gymnast, and it was kind of a cross between a gymnast and a ballet. So in ballet, where they walk and they extend their front feet, and almost like I'm picking the flowers. I bend down and stick one foot, 90 degrees in front of me, kind of thing, right? She was kind of doing that, and she was waving her arms, but she kind of bent her arm all the wrong way around, and it was like, yeah, that's not real, and that doesn't even look remotely real. And so I'm sorry, but don't try and flog it to me when your example is a crock. At least use your best examples. So yeah, I don't hate AI, but I don't exactly. I'm never going to be its friend at this rate. But I'm certainly not threatened by it, just because while it makes shit like that, clearly I'm still good, but I will. There are, as I say, I quite like using Google AI and having a discussion, because when you don't know the name of a thing, or you can ask it a question and get, rather than just a flat, here's 10,000 links for you to click on, it will kind of summarize the links, the popular answer, and give it to you. That can often be all you actually wanted. So that can be quite good. So I'll use that occasionally. Actually, I've used that. That's probably the best use of AI I've found, where it will go, here's the answer, and it will cite where it's got its sources from, but it goes and kind of reads, basically it's read the sources and gives you a summary. So I quite like that. But anything other than that, yeah, let's not. Who was that? Who was that? I don't think it was. Got a feeling that was what? Yeah, looks like they've yeah, what? Um, right, hang on, let's tidy these up a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you. One thing I will do is go in here and I will. Oh, for goodness sake. Why is it whenever you don't use something for 5 minutes, oh, there's a newer version, one must update to the newer version? You're a text editor. How much more shitty, what exactly can be so great and marvellous that, the end of the world must happen for, oh, we've changed all these things. That's really great. I don't care. All I wanted to do was do that, because technically what we have done now, because the 15-inch mark is here, we even out now to just over 15 inches. So I will move my marker to say we made it to 15 inches, to remind us all that to keep going, because that's always a good thing. I know I'm determined to video all of the making of this, but there are times that I kind of wish that I would video it and just give you the highlights, because to be honest, you got to remember that as each strip is 38 inches and we need 7 or 8 of them, it's a lot of repetition. And the only real thing you get when watching me live that you don't get by watching it as a video is real-time interaction. Which I'm not saying is good or bad, because I am boring, really. But there is a little bit of me that kind of... I've done too many on those. I do kind of sometimes think I could just video this and throw it up as a highlights. I would do other stitchy things. So I would do, like I said, my bookmark things. As I say, I'm really proud of these bookmark things, but again, this thread is too loose. See, if you look, see, it's moved, which probably means, did I cut it by mistake? No, it's just moved. But this is why you sew them, so they don't move. But I really like this. I really, really do. But I obviously have work to do. I could probably do some form of spiral, actually, on that. That'd be quite pretty. I'll have a look and see what I can work out. Because, of course, just because there are traditional stitches and flowery things that you can do with it, doesn't mean you have to do them. So if I kind of over sew in a spiral, that could look quite pretty. And, you know, it would give it a bit of strength. That would work. So I quite like the there were some stitches in that, but then they're not designed for those sizes. So I'd have to kind of see if I can adjust them for those sizes or not, because it's not always that easy to change the size of something, depending on what it is, because it's designed to be done in pairs, and if that's an odd number, well, then that's not going to work, you know. But you can soon see. Oh, excuse me. Well, it is 4:30. So yeah. Oh, it's ridiculously warm. As I say, not doing very good at the whole body regulation thing. So hence you can probably hear I've got a fan on in the background. And this is how we Brits deal with everything. Deal with heat. Put the fan on. And moan about it. That's what we do. One thing that I am quite sad about is that over the last few weeks, at some point, we have lost Naughty Cat. And I miss him. Naughty Cat and I used to talk a lot. And I don't think he's blocked me on Facebook. I think he's blocked everybody. I think it's not just me. Because he posted something weird on Facebook. And, well, I can't send him messages anymore. Which is a bit of a shame. I miss Naughty Cat. He was a good friend. So yeah, I miss Naughty Cat. Not quite sure what happened there. I know he was struggling a bit. I was struggling a bit. And we didn't butt heads or anything that I was aware of. So I'm not quite sure. I don't believe it's anything that I said, didn't do. I could be wrong. And if I am wrong, I'll look out, my friend. I am sorry. But I was unaware of that I had done anything. But I don't think I have. But I worry about him. Because a bit like me, he's kind of on his own. And I know that he used to go to a thing what he called the man shed, which was a big crafty thing near him. And I know they had taken the piss out of him. Well, not as in made jokes of him, but they were treating him a bit mean for a while. And I assume some of it is he's just, had enough of that, to be honest. But I don't know, because he's not talking to me. So I'm not sure if we will see him again. I hope so, but I'm not so sure. So if you do see Naughty Cat, say hi from me. doesn't look right. That's because it's not. So let's not get carried away. Something's not right. Feels like you've skipped a hole. Well, I've skipped a hole. Yeah, you should be in that hole there. Okay. That's better. Right. Done it again. You are supposed to be there. Clearly got fat fingers today. Oh, my bottom's going to sleep. Oh. Get hungry though. I haven't eaten yet today, so I'm allowed to be hungry. It's not unrealistic to be hungry. I'm sure I heard that. Must have made that one far too long, didn't I? Sounds like a good chirp out there. I lost count of me twist then. You're a bit close to the reel. Let's take some of the back pins out of here because they're getting a bit close to the legs. And I don't want to. Feels like this one's still doing that. Yeah, there is. There it is. All the way in. That's the problem. It's all the way in there. Right. It's a bit better. That's got a bit of breathing room. My drink's really warm now. It's nice and cold when I started. It's kind of warm now. Room temperature Coke is not the same, especially when it's gone a bit flat, which it has for some reason. So, what I'm going to do is, as it's nearly 5 o'clock, I am going to finish just this little corner here, because, you know, make it tidy. Not that it matters, because it really doesn't, but, you know, visually we like things to be sorted and neat and shit. So we'll do a bit of this. Like this. Use up some of these pins here. No, that's it. I'm not going to undo a thing just for the sake of it. So, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, I've got one of you. It means you're 6. Gonna guess. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Kind of near that. So, let's put you back. Keep you this side of the pin. Actually, I will steal you for a minute. Just for a minute. So, let's do these two. Buggy me. And for the sake of a couple, it won't hurt. So, right. But no, I can't do any more without doing other things. So, but at least now that's So 1, 2, 3, 4, missed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you've just come off. I watched you. Saw you at the corner of my eye. Step back. And then we play hunt the mistake, because it's been a while. There's bound to be a few. I think we caught them all as we went, hopefully. Maybe not. You know how it is. And then this pack comes round here and over here. So it's in the right place. And then we take a fit here, because that's essential. And then we play spot the gaff. So that looks weird, but I don't think it's wrong. It just looks weird. Looks like there's only one thread round that pin there. I don't think it is. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. But we will check, because we don't want to come back and find out that it was and we ignored it, and you know, those moments. We don't need any of that in our life. So to check that, I need to look. No, it's definitely got 2. It's just the angle of the camera, so that's fine. We won't have any nasty shots next time then. That's always a bonus. And we'll grab you and you there like that. So we made it to inch 15. Let me have a quick look as to see who's around. Not sure. Less people are playing games. Don't blame them. Yeah, I will not farm you off into other people then. I shall let you make your own choices in this world. But thank you for attending today. I'll put these up for you to look at as our final moments while I talk about crap. Maybe I should do some coloured shit in there as a cross stitch. That would work. But then it wouldn't look as neat and tidy on the back, and that's the only thing that puts me off with that. But yeah, thank you for joining today, listening to me ramble, as I inevitably do. With any luck, I will be back next week. But if the day gets away from me, as it has been recently, then once again, I do sincerely apologise. As I say, it's not that I don't want to do this. I just can't explain how the moment. A friend of mine's child has a thing called pathological demand avoidance, which is the moment you say to, but you have to, she now won't, right? And I feel a bit like that sometimes, is that I'm quite happy to do it. It's not that I don't want to do it, but the moment the time comes, I just don't want to do it now. And I think that is part of the problem, is that I'm a bit burnt out in general. And when we started this, I was doing quite long days and doing lots of extra streams. And don't get me wrong, I was thoroughly enjoying it. But I've done so many hours of this, as Christy well knows. I've done many hours of this. She's watching my videos going back from the start. Bless her heart. I can't imagine anything more boring, frankly. But she's watching all my videos. And this does not come naturally to me. I am not a people person. And so it is quite hard work for me to be on camera, even though all I'm doing is my crafting and nattering away. Obviously, I wouldn't normally talk to myself quite like I am when I talk to you guys, because, well, I wouldn't, and I wouldn't have your questions and your conversation to respond to. I would just sit in silence doing it, but that would be a real freaking boring stream if I did. And so there is a bit of me. I mean, part of me does think about, you know, when I go off on side quests like this, streaming some of it. But I think if I did that, it would take away some of my enjoyment of doing it, because I do curse myself out a lot while I do things, especially on this one because I trimmed some of the wrong threads. You know, I found out the hard way why that doesn't work. But it's turned out, you know, it turned out like it said it would in the book. And I don't hate it. I just think that this is a much better... But as I say, the thread's not quite fat enough. It's barely not fat enough, but it could do with being slightly fat. This, it feels like the thread's too fat. The threads are too fluffy, if nothing else. Maybe if they weren't fluffy, but then the pearl stuff is supposed to be, you know, crafting costume. But you see, the bit that's annoying is when it's on the thing, it's not fluffy, but it goes fluffy very quickly. It's, in my mind, it's not hard wearing thread. That, I think, is the crux of it. And if you were doing something, clothing, tableware, you want something that's more hard wearing than this. So the fact that this is the shit that they recommend is slightly surprising. But you don't have to use the same colour, but it is traditionally the same colour as the thing. And one of the things that they do say is that the thread you should use should be roughly the same size as the thread of that makes the weave. Well, this is much closer to that, which I think is why it looks a little bit tidier in the long run, and then lies so much flatter because it's not got too much trying to fit in too small a hole. The fact that I didn't do nun stitch around the edge, I do like. It gives it. This is quite textural. In that you could, even, you know, if you shut your eyes, you can't feel the square holes very well because it's too fluffy for that, but you can feel that there is considerable texture. This one, you feel it. It's much more precise. Each of these little squares is much more discernible by the finger than they are here. Here you can just feel that there is a raised section. Here you can feel it's almost like braille. You can feel all of the little raised sections. So in fact, you could probably make braille using this technique, to be honest, on cloth. That could be quite cool. But I quite like the idea. I do have to do something to strengthen these threads because they do move, but I don't know quite the best way of doing that without making it look less tidy. And as you've seen, I've got an entire book dedicated to it. And I do like some of the more spindly ones. But they're not designed for areas quite this big. But I don't really want to do flares because I'm not really a flare kind of person. But I will look, because there were some where, in essence, you end up splitting these 4 threads that make an upright or a cross. And it kind of looks more delicate as a whole, and because this one looks a lot more delicate, I think that could be quite appropriate. But I also think it's probably quite harder to get to look right, because obviously you can't yank on stuff because, well, it's made out of fragile stuff. But it is kind of interesting that both bookmarks are roughly the same size, but the puffier one, for want of a better word, looks thinner. But if I put it on top and line it up, it's almost identical in width. The difference is like one hole. I don't know if you can see because it's all white, but it's like one hole. One stitch hole, probably 2, I would, because so much of it is even numbers. I'm going to say it's 2, right? But realistically, this looks so much wider. But as I say, I've got to decide what I'm doing with the 2 end bits, and then maybe something different with the one in the middle. But this really didn't take that long. This was one evening. This was an evening and a bit. This was, well, slightly less than one evening. So with that in mind, you know, using some coloured thread, because of course I've got some coloured, this thread in colours, there is a lot I could do. And obviously, you know, if I did this square but smaller in the middle in a colour, that could be a thing. Or I've got some silver threads, so I've got silver and Christmas red, for want of a better red. I've got silver I could put in it. I've got choices, right? I've got things, and I'm not good with decisions, so that's how that's going. I hope you have a great weekend. I really do. Think of me on Sunday afternoon as I'm working, and muttering and damning and tutting about it all. But I'm going to go and put some lotion on my hands. She says, trimming a bit of loose skin that's a bit sore. It's really hard to cut with your left hand and a pair of scissors, even when they're thread nippers. I know I shouldn't be using them on my fingers, but by me, they're mine. It's not like I'm doing it to somebody else's. But it is kind of hard to use them with your left hand. When you're right-handed, that is. Not because it's my dumb hand. It's just that most of the time it doesn't actually cut. I'm trimming some of that dead skin on my finger again now. See, this is what happens. I spend quite a bit of my time trying to tidy my finger up. So yeah, but I shall see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And for those people on YouTube, I doubt you made it this far, so good luck to you if you did. Other than Christy, because obviously Christy tends to watch them all better. I shall hope to see you again shortly. Take care, and maybe this time next week. Bye-bye.